I personally don't give a hoot whether or not you agree to this, but one of my favorite parts of the entire Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is in the sequel, the black comedy sequel by Tobe Hooper himself, the character Chop Top, played by iconic legend Bill Moseley. Y'all have heard me chomp at the bits, talk to my teeth go numb about House of a Thousand Corpses and all that good stuff, but let's talk about the underrated iconic character Chop Top Sawyer himself and his impact on the horror community and the lost film that he did have that never got to see the light of day. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Phantom of the Indie Review. I'm your host, Dog Will Hunt Dill. We are on the journey of 4,000. We're on the journey of 4,000 subscribers by whenever the fuck we get there. If you like talking about that nostalgic horror, that goofy stuff, the stuff that sends shivers down your spine, then come hang out with me and give me a subby. You know, I've said it once, I've said it twice, many people have said this, the sequels just don't live up to the expectations. I happen to think that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a way better film than the original. I know it's blasphemy, I get the iconic drip that the first one has, I understand it was ahead of its time, it defined horror for what it is, Leatherface wouldn't be there without the original one. But I just like the second one better. It's funnier and it's freakier. And whether or not you like this movie or not, you can't argue the fact that Chop Top Sawyer is a standout entry into this saga alone just by Bill Moseley's presence. Yes, Chop Top was a member of the cannibalistic Sawyer family and one of Leatherface's brothers, other than the hitchhiker. He appears in part 2 as a secondary antagonist. And he's just such a different, eccentric vibe. He has that carefree, hippy-dippy Vietnam War veteran with a sinister demeanor behind his goofiness. And I feel like many people can't replicate that type of character today, and if they did, it's definitely an homage. He has an abundance of comic relief. He suffers from PTSD from the Vietnam War. He has a lot of flashbacks, just randomly screaming about Nam. And besides being born and raised in Texas, not much else is known about Chop Top, but it is likely that he worked in the family slaughterhouse. I mean, they were born and bred carving up people, eating people and shit, so like he obviously had to work there, or maybe he was like not about that life because he's all like peace and love. He's allegedly the hitchhiker's twin brother, and due to some similarities between the two, although there's no proof of them being twins, like obviously this movie is created and written by Tobe Hooper, who did the first one, so it can be as canon as it needs to be, or it could be open up to the mind's interpretation, but that's what man says. Chop Top was a Vietnam War veteran and was on his tour of duty in Vietnam when the events of August 1973 took place. His brother Hitchhiker died and Sally Hardesty escaped. So that's kind of a cool little piece. You're like, well, I couldn't be around to kill all these kids in the original movie because I was in the Vietnam War. I was saving the lives. And again, that ties beautifully into like the reboot, the prequel, the beginning with the Vietnam ties. Is that coincidence? I don't know. Well, obviously it is, because in that movie they're called the fucking Hewitts, not the Sawyers. It was in Vietnam where he received a grisly head injury, which was caused by a lucky dude using a machete. He doesn't say dude, but I'm not gonna use that much bad profanity. The hole on his head was mended with a metal plate that's been grafted into his scalp, leaving him bald. To hide this, Chop Top has taken to wearing some mighty fine groovy wigs. Like, he's got drip, man, rocks that shit hella. Despite his military service, Chop Top seems to endorse his eccentric behavior and the hippie lifestyle, as evident by his attire and the type of music he listens to. Obviously, you know, he's like, it's that weird fine blend because, you know, the hippies kind of fought back and rebelled against Vietnam. So he went, and it's almost like with that trauma and self-guilt and torture, he kind of redefined his image to perpetually represent what he had to fight for. Ironically, maybe I'm reading too much into it. In this movie, Chop Top first appears alongside Leatherface in a pickup truck. Together, they attack a pair of drunk motorists on a bridge, and this is probably one of my favorite scenes, the two dudes driving down the road and like, oh, we're going to this freaking party, dude, yo, this is epic, and like they're just chilling and swaying, and like it has one of the most creepiest, eerie scenes when you see that like corpse or body on the back of the truck or whatever, and they just get brutally attacked. It just sets up the vibe that these two ain't here to fuck around. Chop Top and Leatherface kill the two men, not realizing that their attack on the driver was being recorded at a radio station the two drunken men had called. So yeah, dude, these guys are on the phone with the fucking DJ Stretch and like, dude, we're going out to party, and then they get their shit brutally recorded, so now, stop snapping me. So now, Chop Top and Leatherface, they gotta go to this fucking radio station and retrieve the evidence, and it has one of my favorite scenes of all time.
Good night. Oh, good night.
I just love that where he's like, good night, and she's like obviously terrified and genuinely gut-wrenched. She's like, good night, leave, and he's like, good night, like, okay. And he has an infamous iconic line, dogs will hunt, which reminds me a lot of his Otis Driftwood character, run, rabbit, run. So yeah, Chop Top is just pretending to be a fan of the radio show and distracts her by asking for a tour. She's frightened and reluctant, but she's complying, and she attempts to usher him out, but he's just not having it. When Leatherface comes rushing out because Chop Top was a decoy and he just, kidnaps her, and the rest is history. We know that, but just every little scene he oozes and drips in this film. And people loved Chop Top a lot. Like, he was a very well fan favorite character in all of the franchise, and to this day has a lasting impact. And the story goes that there was a spin-off movie about him called All American Massacre, which is an unreleased film by William Hooper, who is the son of Tobe Hooper. And the film was to serve as both a sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and a prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The film was to feature Chop Top as the main character who had been captured and placed into a psychiatric prison. Memories of how his family became killers and cannibals were to feature in the film, as he was being interviewed by tabloid journalists. And Bill Moseley would play Chop Top, like they even have a trailer about it. And that's another cool thing, because again, with him being in Vietnam War and then kind of being pushed out and doing this hippie thing, now what does he think about his life and the actions his family caused and all the horrendous murders that took place? While the concrete reason for this suppression of the film is unknown, it's speculated that rights issues are the case. And the film uses the Texas Chainsaw Massacre characters, including Leatherface, and the rights to the series. So even though, like, his son made it, it's like, dude, we own it. I don't care if it's your bloodline, dude. And it's just a tragedy. Like, I hope one day this movie's released. All in all, it's just a crazy idea to know how impactful and effective this character was, even though he's from the second movie. What could have been with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise if he lived on, and if this movie was allowed to be made? Would he be in more of the movies? Would part 3 and 4 and 5 and the rest not have been as dud-like if Bill Moseley was in it? But he gets his redemption as Otis Driftwood to become another horror icon in House of a Thousand Corpses, so we gotta be thankful for that. But yeah, all in all, I just love Chop Top. He's so groovy, far out. AVGN does this one Texas Chainsaw Massacre video where he's playing the Atari version, and Mike Matee does a fucking epic rendition of Chop Top. It's hilarious. And I don't know, he's just such a cool, inventive character, and he always just stuck out to me. I've loved this movie since I was a kid. He's eerie, he's badass, he's fun. But alright guys, thank you so much for watching. What do you think about Chop Top? Do you vibe with him or not? Comment down below. Please subscribe, give me a thumber, hit that dingling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here, and I'm gonna say it one time for the one time, and 2 times for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror.
EXIT. Exit.
Social satire, if you will, of, the rich killing the poor rebelling.